Throughout history, fashion has never been just about beauty. It has also reflected power, display, and cultural dominance. In 19th century England, the shimmering detail on the gowns of aristocratic women actually came from the heart of India. Beetle wings. Over more than 2 centuries, this embroidery technique was transformed into an exotic fantasy in the eyes of the Western European elite. But behind the glitter was not only art and elegance, there was also the shadow of colonialism. The embroidery of beetle wings had its roots in Southeast Asia: Thailand, Burma, India, China. From India, the fabrics made their way to England, where they fascinated high society. What dressed the women of the British elite in beetle wing gowns was not simply refined taste. It was the urge to view the East as an exotic showcase, to assert control over it, and to display power under the guise of elegance. The luminous green and blue reflections on the fabric came from the wings of beetles of the Sternocera genus, known in Japan as Chrysochroa. These hard wing cases, called elytra, were extraordinarily durable. Even when the cloth around them yellowed, frayed, or decayed, the wings resisted the passage of centuries. Their strength came from chitin, one of the toughest natural substances in the world, so tough that it was even used aboard the Soviet Mir space station. The beetles themselves lived only 1 to 3 weeks. After gathering in swarms to mate, they died in large numbers. People in Southeast Asia collected their wings, making the craft relatively conscientious. In northern Thailand and Laos, the beetles were eaten as food, and their wings were sold as byproducts from processing plants. These wings were not only green and blue, they shimmered in purple, orange, red, navy, and gold. Often called nature's sequins, they adorned dresses, shoes, purses, and jewelry. Shoes made in England in the late 1700s, and handbags preserved in Boston museums from the early 1800s remain striking examples. The fascination with beetle wings extended far beyond clothing. John Singer Sargent F.'s portraits immortalized the exotic shimmer of these fabrics on the gowns of aristocratic women, capturing both their beauty and their colonial undertones. Ellen Terry's Lady Macbeth costume became iconic in theater history. In 1888, she appeared on stage in a gown glittering with thousands of beetle wings. The audience was spellbound, and Sargent painted her in all her dazzling glory. Lady Curzon's famous peacock gown was another legendary example. Worn in Delhi in 1903, it embodied both magnificence and the cultural debates around colonial power. In modern times, Oscar-winning costume designer Colleen Atwood drew on beetle wing shimmer for Charlize Theron's role as Queen Ravenna in Snow White and the Huntsman. And perhaps the most spectacular reinterpretation, in 2002, Belgian artist Jean Fabre covered the ceiling and chandeliers of the Mirror Hall in the Brussels Royal Palace with 1.6 million beetle wings. The room still glows with an otherworldly blue-green light. Beetle wing embroidery has a history of more than 1,000 years, from Burma, Thailand, and Indonesia to Peru, Ecuador, and China. Today, it survives in couture fashion, jewelry design, and contemporary art. It adorned clothing, ornaments, and objects. From a sustainability perspective, beetle wings are more natural than synthetic sequins made from petroleum products. Yet there is a danger. If demand grows too high and forests can no longer provide enough, industrial harvesting could replace traditional practices, stripping the craft of its original spirit and respect for nature. Beetle wing gowns both fascinate and unsettle us, for behind their shimmering beauty lies the history of colonialism, humanity's contradictory relationship with nature, and the display of power. Yet beyond all this, the tradition reminds us of something profound. Even the smallest gift of nature, in the right hands, can be transformed into an artwork that shines for centuries.